Hi everyone, I'm Reen from Embroidery Garden, and today for my first live demo of the year, I'm going to show you how to make my Valentine using one of my In the Hoop designs. This is the In the Hoop tags from the In the Hoop tag set. It is a 7x12 size of tag, and this is from my Garden Flower Lace collection. So this is what I'm going to be demoing today. On Embroidery Garden's Facebook page, this morning I uploaded a link to a PDF file that gives you the links to everything that I'm going to use and talk about, and the things that are from Embroidery Garden are going to be on sale until Monday, I think that's the 25th at 6 a.m. Central Time. So I want to get back over here to see the comments. Okay, I see some people starting to roll in. Good morning, Michelle. Thanks for joining me. This will be available to watch later on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page. I see Karen's here. So again, like I said, I'm going to be using the In the Hoop tags set from Embroidery Garden. It is a set of several different sizes of tags that are blank. So you can put anything on them that you want. So behind me here is the largest size from the tag set. And the set does include how to make the snowman. The face is embroidered, and that's included. This is heat transfer vinyl that I put on there, so you can use vinyl or you can embroider on these. And, you know, I got the idea to do a little Valentine. And the purpose of these demos is going to be to show you how to use Embroidery Garden designs in a different way to inspire you. I see Bella's here, Cindy's here. Hi, Beth. Thanks for joining me today. So let's get started. Oh, let me show you a couple other things too. So this is also from the set. This is the small 4x4 little tag. This can be used as an ornament, a package tag, anything like that. If you follow me on embroiderygarden.com or follow my Facebook page, you probably saw the post I did this year where I used these small tags to make little tags for our Christmas stockings this year. These were made out of cork. And instead of doing the embroidered eyelet on this one, I stopped the machine so I could add little grommets in there. But these were made using the files from the same In the Hoop blank tag set. And I see lots of people rolling in. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And the set also includes this size, which I believe is 5x7. It's a smaller snowman. The face is included and all the instructions that you've come to be used to with Embroidery Garden to show you how to do this. So again, I am using the 7x12 size. So for all the tags, and let me get my supplies here, we don't need a lot of things. We need a piece of Peltex, which is a Pellon product. And that's what's going to give our tag some body. It's going to make it stiff. We don't want this tag to be flimsy and flopping all around. Pellon calls this a stabilizer. But in the world of machine embroidery, I wouldn't refer to this as a stabilizer. This is thick. This isn't something that you would hoop. I, refer to this more as an interfacing, and that's how I'm going to use it today. But it's a Pellon product, and it's number 70. There is a fusible one. You could use it, but it's not necessary to use it. So I am using the 7x12 size, and I'm using tear away because we're going to want the stabilizer to tear away from the edge of our tag. The first thing you need to do, you have to get this shape, and every size tag has its own, shape, own size of a shape. So instead of me trying to, include like a paper piece that you could cut out and use to cut out your Peltex, we're going to use the first step of the design for you to create your own pattern. So you can hoop tear away and stitch step number 1. And as you can see, it's the outline shape of the tag. This is actually the placement line for the Peltex. So what I did was I stitched the first step onto the tear away. I took it out of the hoop and I trimmed around it. And I trimmed just inside of the stitching all the way around this shape. And I went ahead and I labeled it because I can keep this. If I want to make another 7 by 12 size of a tag, I've got my pattern piece right here. And I went ahead and labeled it that it was a 7 by 12 blank tag from the set so that I can use this. Hi, Alice. Thanks for joining me this morning. And then that's how I cut my piece of Peltex. So I can keep this. I don't need it now. So you would load the design on to your machine. And again, like I said, I went ahead and I stitched the first step. You will have to, stitch the first step to get your pattern piece, unhoop, cut your piece out, then rehoop another piece and go ahead and stitch step 1 again, because that is the placement. So I'm going to take my Peltex piece, and I can change my camera view here to give you kind of a close-up. So let me go ahead and do that. So here's my Peltex piece, and I'm going to use just a little bit of this glue stick to hold it in place, because I want to make sure that it stays in my placement line. So I'm just going to add a little bit on here, and I'm going to turn it upside down and make sure I get it inside my placement, and just kind of stick it down. I just want to make sure that it kind of stays. I don't know if this glue is really going to hold it well. It will hold it enough though so that it's not going to shift any. Then I'm going to take a piece of my fabric, and let me go back to the big picture of me again. So what I'm using is canvas. You don't have to use canvas, but I kind of like it. On the snowman behind me, I actually used painter's cloth. That was the painter's cloth that you just get like at Home Depot or any kind of a store that you lay down and you paint to keep the paint off of the floor. But this was canvas that I bought at Joann's. So after I put down the piece of Peltex, I'm going to take my piece of canvas and I'm going to lay it, center it over the top. And I like to pin my things in place because I don't want this to move. So let me just grab a couple of pins. I'm going to have to reach over here to get those. And I'll give you a little bit of a close-up. I see someone says the PDF says it doesn't exist. I tested it and saw it, so I'll go back and look at that when the video here is over. And you will be able to watch it on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page after it's done. At some point, I may move it over to Embroidery Garden's YouTube channel. But let me go ahead and change the camera. And I'm going to show you how I kind of pin this in place. So I have it laying over top of my Peltex. And I'm just going to take a pin, go through the fabric, and go through the stabilizer in all 4 corners. And I kind of have to turn it towards me. It's easier for me to pin. And you're also going to notice that I am pinning well out of the way of where it's going to be stitching. This is way at the top of the hoop, so I know that my pins aren't going to be in the way. But you will probably want to keep an eye on it just in case. So I'm using the same color thread for all the steps. And you will want to use a matching bobbin thread. And let me get this put onto the machine. And step number 2, I'll go ahead and start this. Step number 2 is actually stitching the fabric down in place. It's just going to basically follow the same line that it did the first time. I'm trying to read the comments as we go along. I saw the comments about the PDF file. I will go back at the end of this video and repost it if I need to. Murtis wants to know if I can use the magnetic holders. I think you could on this. There is enough room in the hoop if you put them at the very bottom and the very top of the hoop. No, the flower is not included in the tag. At the beginning, I said I used the In the Hoop tag set, and I used one of the flowers from my Garden Flower Lace collection. These are 2 different sets. Again, I'm giving you inspiration on, using embroidery garden designs, maybe in a different way, show you a project, kind of inspire you a little bit. So the first step, or the second step actually, has stitched the fabric down. Now at this point, if you wanted to embroider on it, and like the snowman, that face was embroidered, you would do any embroidery you wanted to on the tag. The Peltex is easy to embroider through, so you don't have to worry about, embroidering through this. It's not thick enough that you can't embroider it, but it is thick enough to give the design some body. Yes, Alice, you could use those magnets in place of the glue stick. So now I'm going to take another piece. I'm going to be using heat transfer vinyl on mine. So I'm going to take another piece of fabric, the exact same stuff, and I'm putting it on the back side of the hoop. And this one, I'm just going to tape this one down in place. I'm not going to take my pins out and move them. You could if you wanted to, but I'm just going to tape it so it doesn't shift on me. Susan, I'm using, this one is the 7x12 tag. You can use any size tag that you want. I chose the 7x12 size. So what the next step is actually going to do, and let's make sure that nothing, flips underneath on the back side of the hoop, because we hate when that happens. Step number 3 is going to go around and it's going to attach the fabric onto the back side. So if you had embroidered on the top, anything that is on the back wouldn't show. So you can see the back of my finished tag, nothing shows except obviously the outline going around it. You're also going to notice on the edge, if you could see this, that this phrase, that was intentional. That's how I wanted it to be. I wanted these to be a little bit rustic looking. I showed you earlier the tags that I did on cork. Of course, those won't fray. If you didn't want to see any fraying, you could use felt. And if you wanted to use fabric, what I would do if you didn't want fraying was to take your fabric, put a double-sided adhesive on the back, and then attach it to felt and use that as the piece that goes on the front side. And then on the back side, you could probably just use a piece of fabric. I am trying to go through and read some of the comments. Yeah, you like the gnome? Here's the standing gnome from Embroidery Garden's standing gnome set. That one I kind of did with in a Valentine theme. And I also, on this one, used some of the designs from the Garden Flower Lace collection. So I have put this set, the In the Hoop Tags set, and the Garden Flower Lace collection on sale on Embroidery Garden's website. I'm also going to talk about a couple other things, another product a little bit later that I also put on sale. Ginger said she's happy that I'm using the Garden Flower Lace collection. That has so many uses. There are so many possibilities for that set. I am wearing one of the flowers from the set today, but they could do so many things different than just be made into pens. Eileen wants to know, is the Let It Snow and the Snowman tags Embroidery Garden? Yes, everything I show is Embroidery Garden. As I said earlier on this, the Let It Snow, that is just lettering that I created. That's heat transfer vinyl, lettering that I created. It's not included in the set. The snowman face and how to do the snowman is included. Anything that you have questions about, if something is included or not, you'll find that information on the web page. And I'm just kind of looking through some more questions here. Like I said, like I posted earlier and may have done in another video, I am going to try and do this once a month this year. Don't hold me to it, but I'm really going to try to do a live demo for you every month. And if you have some ideas, you can send them to me, something you might want to see. But I really do want them to be kind of project-based. Alice asked if marine vinyl would work for this. And yes, it would. when I did the cruise, when I did a class on the cruise a couple of years ago, someone actually made me a tag using this set and marine vinyl, because when I went on the cruise, I didn't really know that making a tag for your door, your cabin door, was a thing, and obviously it is. Somebody wants to know, what is Peltex? I talked about it earlier. Peltex is a Pellon product. It's Pellon product number 70. They call it a stabilizer, but it's not the type of a stabilizer that you would use in machine embroidery. This is more, what I'm using it for basically is an interfacing. This is stiff. It's giving this little tag some body so that it's not flimsy and floppy. You can see if I, hold it, that it's going to basically keep its shape. So again, let's kind of go over the tag a little bit. I use heat transfer glitter vinyl. Does it have to be glitter? No, but look how cute that is. I use the flower from my garden flower lace collection. This little flower, our heart shape here at I just kind of put it on there. That is built into my lace maker software. And I am a authorized dealer for design and machine embroideries lace maker software, which is available on my website. That I actually put that on sale too. And then I just use some Grosgrain ribbon. What do I order for this? Debbie, I'll go over that again at the end of this video. And, if you're interested in these demos that I'm going to be doing and the products that I'm going to be using, be sure to like and follow Embroidery Garden's Facebook page, because that's where all the info is. Hi, Lisa. Nice to see you. Okay, so step number 3 is stitched. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my camera here a little bit, because I am able to actually move this other camera. Let me go ahead and get it changed. It is on the machine right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move it over this way, because at this point now, you can see that it's stitched. Both my pieces are stitched on. Now I have to take care of this, where the little hanger is, the little hole, to be able to hang this from if you wanted to. It's a tag, so it does have an opening here. You have to trim out the inside of this. The easiest way to do that is, what I like to do is, I'm going to use a rotary cutter, but what I'm going to do with the cutter is I'm just going to go into the circle and I'm just going to press down. Okay, I'm not going to be rolling this. I don't want to cut these stitches, but what this is doing is it's getting through that Peltex, and I like to make a little X on it, so that it's going to start to be a little bit easier for me to trim this out. So to make it a little bit easier, I'll trim the top fabric first, and I'm using these little scissors because that's easiest for me. Try to keep this in the camera view here. And you do want to get close to the stitching all the way around. Right now I'm only going through the top layer, but I am going to trim out that piece of Peltex. And you can see that little X that I put in there with that rotary cutter. That's going to make it a little bit easier to trim this out. So it will take me a few minutes to get this trimmed out. I am kind of at an awkward angle here trying to trim this, but I'll be able to get it. I do have to keep turning it. That's kind of a tip for me to, when you're trimming something, to turn your work instead of turning your scissors. Just makes it a little bit easier. So I almost have the piece of Peltex trimmed out of the circle. So now let me turn it over and work from the back side. So you can see that was part of that X that I used the rotary cutter to trim, to get me started, basically, is what I did. And of course, the neater you trim something like this, the nicer it's going to look in the end. I do have a nice wide satin stitch going around here, so that really helps. And then this tear away, I could basically tear it away from the inside. So you can take your time, go through there, clean it up really nice. But you can see that I have an actual hole in the tag that goes all the way through everything. So what I'm going to do now is I have a little piece of this plastic machine embroidery topper. I'm just going to place that over it. And let me get that taped in place. And the reason I'm doing that is just because I want the stitches to have something to grab onto. And I want to carefully, I'm going to get a small piece of tape because I want to, when it stitches, it's going to be stitching a nice satin stitch all the way around, and then it's going to do this buttonhole area. So let me go ahead and get the camera changed and get it back onto the machine. And just give me a second. Okay. And this now is the longest step of the whole design. So while it's going to be stitching, I'm going to try and answer some questions. And we're going to go over the scan and cut, and I'm going to cut this other part. Okay, I see. If you want me to take off, I can take off the little banner. I don't think I could get rid of that, but that's so low on the screen, it should not be any problem. Okay, so as I said earlier, this is heat transfer vinyl. Now, it's just a font that I picked off of my computer, and what I did was how it's going to cut. It's going to cut together. The L and the V and the E are all going to be close together. And the reason I did that was I didn't leave the space for the flower because I didn't want to waste a big piece of vinyl here in the center. So after we cut it, I'll show you how we're going to take care of that. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to change the camera. Let me get it up here and let me take me off of here. Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, I don't know why there isn't any sound. Can you hear me now? Well, Gina, it's not going to be changed for the replay. You should be able to hear me. So let's get back to just me on the screen then. And let's see. Let me remove, make this one there. Okay, you know, if you can hear me, maybe I was too far from the computer. Okay, it sounds, the sound is back. Maybe I was too far from the computer when I was over there at the scan and cut. All I did basically was load my file. I did some things to it to get it to cut. I can run over there and get it off of the machine. This really isn't a scan and cut video. You know, I'm not really showing you how to do the scan and cut. Did I reverse the letters? You know what? I forgot to reverse my letters. So that's an issue right there. But I could just take it off of the mat because yes, you would need to reverse the letters. And all I'm doing is just, I can pull this off. But like I have said, there are tons of scan and cut videos out there. I'm not really here to show you scan and cut. I'm here to show you this project. So here, I can get all this off there. This is still got a little bit of time to stitch. What does the weeding box do? Okay, so I can show you that here. Let me get the tape off of this and get this kind of ready for you. What the weeding box did was, here are my letters. It put a box around it so that, you know, if I had a full sheet, I would even save this piece down here to use later. So I didn't have to pull off and waste vinyl, is basically what it does. I would take out the middle of the letters, and I have a heat press, and that's how I put it onto my design. Again, it would need to have been reversed, but what I did was I cut these apart now, and let me grab my scissors. I think I have some right here. Because remember, I said that I put the letters close together. I did not leave a space for the flower because I didn't want to waste a big piece of vinyl. So, and I would take off the rest of this vinyl. I think I'm just going to cut it around here so you get the idea. The kind of tape that I used was, that's washi tape. And that tip came from Stephanie from So Stephanie Says. If you want to learn about the scan and cut, Stephanie from So Stephanie Says Crafty Group, and you can look that up on Facebook, has a group, and she offers scan and cut lessons. She offers them on the different models of scan and cut. So if you want to know all about scan and cut, you can go and take one of Stephanie's classes. But what I did then was I cut my letters apart. And you really have to have your flower done before you adhere these letters, because you need to know how much space you need to leave between these two. Ginger, when I cut cork, do I put it face down? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it depends on the kind of cork I'm using, because, you know, some of it, it's all different now. There's some really thin cork out, and there is other heavier cork out. Right, so Stephanie Says, I see Carrie. Hi, Carrie, thanks for popping in here. You can put a link to Stephanie's group. And like I said, you want to know anything about scan and cut, Stephanie is the person to ask. And let's see, I had someone ask a question. about the tag. Is the tag in the hoop listing? Yeah, all you have to do if you're trying to find it right now, there's a search box in the upper left corner and type in blank tags and the set will come up. So this is just, it's still got a little bit more time. But while it's stitching, let's talk about the flower. And we'll talk about the garden flower lace collection. So the flower that I actually used, there are so many different flowers within this garden flower lace collection. I would just look for a petal that was about 2.5 inches around, because that's about the size for this size tag, I think. So I found a petal that was 2.5 inches around. Then I found some smaller petals. You can mix and match the flowers. So some of these petals, maybe the bottom petal came from one set of the flowers. This petal may have came from a different set of the flowers. These leaves probably came from a different set within the flower collection. But let's talk about stitching freestanding lace. So this is the flower that I'm actually going to use on the tag that I'm making today. And when this video is all done, later on, I'll post my new tag that I'm making with the stuff that I'm using today, and I'll make sure to get that PDF file, the link, corrected. So let me give you, you know what, let me change the camera here on me because I want you to be able to see something close up. So I already started stitching these flowers. I still have one more to stitch, and that's the middle part of the flower that's going to go right there. For this flower, I decided to use variegated thread. And I used this variegated thread. This is from Dime. This is one of their, from the exquisite thread line that they carry. And this one is V1110. In that PDF, there will be a link to their variegated thread, but I think that looks really nice when it stitches out. And let me kind of lift it up here a little bit so you can get a look at the variegated thread. So on this one, I'm going to use a flower that has 1, 2, 3, 4 layers and a little center. The leaf that I used was different than the leaf that I used on this one. Like I said, though, you can use anything that you want. You're also going to notice I put a lot of design elements into this hoop. It's not really recommended to load your hoop up with freestanding lace. I know everybody does it, but it's not really recommended. And the reason it's not recommended is because you put so much, freestanding lace by nature has a lot of stitches. And, excuse me, a lot of times if you load up a hoop with a lot of freestanding lace, you're going to get a lot of shifting, you're going to get puckering in your stabilizer, and your registration lines and maybe some of your satin stitching will be off. So if you notice on the edge of my hoop, what I've done, and this was a tip from my friend Rhonda, that I've used T-pins all along the edge of the hoop. And what that does is when this is stitching and it's putting so many stitches in here, it's keeping my stabilizer, and I use 2 layers whenever I do freestanding lace, and this is like a fabric type of water-soluble stabilizer. And I use 2 layers all the time, but putting these T-pins in keeps the stabilizer from pushing down and getting wrinkled and shifting on you. So as you can see, and I'll try to hold this up so you can see a little bit better, that I have no puckering in my stabilizer and that everything is right on target. There are, you know, nothing is off. None of my registration lines are off. So what I'm going to show you here too is, so after everything is stitched. And I am going to start the center flower when this is done, because I do have another tip for freestanding lace. But after it's all stitched, what I do is, now this is a different flower petal, but I just kind of trim them all, you know, close to the stabilizer when they're all done. Patricia wants to know what a T-pin looks like. This is what a T-pin looks like. It's shaped in a T and it's very strong. And here, I'll show you how I even put one in. So all I'm doing is I'm putting it in, and I'm going to make sure that it's pushed down well. And see what it's doing is, here's the outside of the hoop, here's the inside of the hoop. The T of the pin is crossing over the two, so when it's stitching and the stabilizer is moving, it's not letting your stabilizer shift in any way. But when they're all done, what I like to do is I trim around each individual piece. I get a bowl of hot water and I put it down inside to dissolve the water soluble. I don't dissolve it all. And Murtis, you can use variegated on the back side if you want, or you can use, you know, just a pink that would match on this variegated. That's kind of all up to you. So after I've rinsed out the stabilizer, what I like to do is take the flour and kind of just squish it up in my hand. And what that does is it starts to give it dimension. And then I let it dry this way. Because you can see on these flowers, on the finished one, see how dimensional they are? They're not flat. I want the flower to have dimension, so that's why I squish the flower up as it's drying. Then I lay it on either paper towels or, you know, like one of those cookie baking sheets to dry. You want to see the other side of this hoop? I did use variegated thread on this one, on my underside, and you can see I used the matching thread on the green. So my tag is done stitching, so let me go ahead and change the camera so that you can, we can look at the tag now that it's done. And let me take it off the hoop. So here it is, the tag is finished. What I would do is I would take it out of the hoop. I can easily pull off this, this water-soluble plastic topper that I put on. It tears away very nicely. And it's here in the center. I can just pop that out. And I'm ready to take it completely out of the hoop. Now, the reason I like to use tearaway on this is because it will tear away from the edges. So before I do any trimming, I like to start tearing my tearaway. And when I tear it, I want to make sure that I'm tearing it up against the stitching. And I'll remove it all the way around before I go back and trim. Connie says you could use plastic canvas to dry your freestanding lace on. That's a great idea. So now that I have the stabilizer torn away from it, I would just take a straight edge, my rotary cutter and ruler, and trim about 1/8 inch all the way around to get the finished tag. And you want to see the back side? Here's the back side. And now this would be ready after it's trimmed to press your heat transfer vinyl on. So let me first show you the little trick that I have for freestanding lace. So let me bring up my, well, first I'm going to change my bobbin because I'm doing the freestanding lace and I want a color that's going to look good with what I am going to be using for the center part of the flower. I'm not using the variegated on that. I wanted the center to be a little bit darker than the rest of the flower. So I chose a color that coordinates with the variegated, but is solid. So let me just get my machine threaded. And I am going to have to pull the design up and get to the part where I started, where I need to stitch the center. I've already got it loaded on my machine. And whoops, here it is. Let me get the hoop on the machine, get everything set. So let me get the camera over here so you can get a close-up look at what I'm going to be doing. And let me get to the point that I was at on this. Okay, and I'm just going to swing the camera over here, but I do have to change the camera. And I will try to go back and answer questions in the video. Let's see, I can only get so close, but I think you might be able to see what I'm going to be doing. It's really kind of easy anyway. Come down a little bit. Let me kind of tilt it. Whoops. There's a delay, so it kind of, let's see how that looks. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm at the center, the piece for the center, and it's a color stop because I'm using a different color of thread. So what I like to do is I grab my top thread, and I have it here in my hand. I use my needle down button. The needle goes down and through the stabilizer. I press it again, it brings the needle up, and when it does that, it brings up the bobbin thread. So now I have the bobbin thread here, and I have my top thread, and I'm ready to start stitching. And I'm going to let it take a few stitches, and I'm going to stop. I always like to put my needle down, and I raise the foot up, and then I take some small scissors, and I cut the two threads. And I can go ahead and continue stitching that. Now, that is a tip that Joanne Banco gave me. And what it does is, when you are stitching, like some kind of, when you're doing freestanding lace or you're doing anything that starts with a running stitch, they like to do snap key fobs and things. And you go to do that final running stitch or bean stitch, and you'll get a knot on the back of it. This prevents that knot bringing up your bobbin thread. And that's why I just did that, was to bring up that bobbin thread. So, and like I said, it keeps a knot from forming on the back side. So let me change the camera view again, and we'll talk a little bit more about the flowers. That's just stitching the little center part. And I'll go back to the other camera so you can get a closer look. Let's see. There we go. All right. So here's my finished tag. It would be trimmed, of course. And let's just say these are the flowers that I did. They have dried, and you can see they're not flat. I gave them a little bit of shape. And then all I do is layer them how I want and hot glue them together. And, I could use whatever leaf I want. Like on this sample, I did use this leaf. This one, I might use another one. But you really need to have your flower done before you start putting on your vinyl. Now, as I said, I did not reverse my vinyl. So I'm just going to lay it like this to give you an idea of how I did this. So first what I do is I fold it together, and I'll just put a little clip here with my scissors. That kind of marks the center of my letter. And then I measure here to here. I'm measuring here to here. I find the center, and I line my letter up. Then I have my V and my E, and I'm just going to lay them here for right now. I could do the same thing, fold them together, clip, measure end to end, get that lined up so that the letters are centered this way. And then I would take my flower and put it in between to determine how close or how far apart I need these letters to be. And like I said, if I wanted to, here's a different flower or a leaf that I used. You can do anything you want, but if you're using this size of a tag, the 7x12 tag, and you are, you're going to spell out love, a 4-letter word like this, then you would probably want to use a flower that's about 2.5 inches in diameter. Start with that. So let me go, and I'm going to switch the camera back again. And again, I am going to try to go back and, read the questions that were posted, and I will get that PDF brought up. So you can see here's the little center that's stitched, and this is the flower that I'll use to put on my tag, and I will be posting it on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page when I have it all finished. Let me check for some questions here. And let's see, looks like we got some troller here that we'll have to get rid of. I am doing this today by myself, so I'll make sure that I get that out of here in just a bit. What size is the letters? You know what? Let me just kind of measure this. What you kind of have to do is, it depends on the size tag that you're making. I decided I wanted to use the word love. I picked the font I wanted to use, and again, it's just a font I had on my computer. This letter measures, it's about 4.5 inches high, but that's something, what I suggest doing, get your letters ready. And what I did was I first cut them just out of cardstock and laid them on there to make sure I had the size right before I started cutting into my, my vinyl. So let's see. Yeah, you would get your letters down first. You have to know where your letters are going and your flower is going before you press your vinyl down. Okay, because you don't want to end up where you don't have enough room. So you kind of have to audition it a little bit. That's why you need your flower done and your leaves done. And then you press this down, and then you can glue your flower on. And again, I just use Grosgrain ribbon to put something at the end. And this little heart, again, that was just, it's built in on my Lace Maker software. So I hope that you like this and that it kind of inspired you to, create something on your own. What I wanted to show you too is, as I look through some questions here, I've already planned out the February demo. And that's going to be, I don't really have a set date for it, but it's going to be near the end of February. And what I'm going to be showing you how to do that day is, this is the Della composition book. This is a sewing pattern, so everyone can do this. And this was done in collaboration with Sally Tomato. I worked with her last year on this pattern, and the pattern is available at sallytomato.com. You also can get a kit for this. And it holds one of the big notebooks. These are one of those 9.75 by 7.5 notebooks. And this is made out of Sally Tomato's faux leather. And you can see it's got a little page marker. So on this one, instead of coming down with the page marker, I made it so that it comes up because I wanted to use this adorable tassel. And so in the kit, you can get a pre-cut kit. It contains everything you need. Everything's cut for you. You will have to cut, the size of pieces that you need, but you do get everything. You're going to get the hardware for the tassel. You're going to get this little, what does it say, handmade tag. And you will get the pre-cut. I actually have my kit here. It arrived the other day. So if you order the kit from Sally Tomato, you get the faux leather that you need. This is the bigger piece that you need. This is the smaller piece that you need. And you get the pre-cut accent strip for the front. You get the fabric that goes behind it. You get the pack of hardware, everything that you need. And you get the pattern. And then inside of this envelope are the instructions to make it. And so that's what I'm going to do in February. So I hope that you want to watch that. Again, it's not really a sew along, but if you have your kit ready after the video, then you can go ahead and jump right in. So I'm trying to see, someone already has the kit ready for the next demo. That's great. You never able to find the link to this demo. So if you want to be able to find the demos that I'm going to be doing, you need to like and follow Embroidery Garden's Facebook page. And if you do that, and when I put up the little notice for the demos, if you click Get Reminder, what it's going to do is it's going to send you a notification as soon as the demo goes live. And like I said, the demo will be available to watch on Embroidery Garden's Facebook page. And later on, I'm going to be putting it onto Embroidery Garden's YouTube channel. Yes, Karen, it's sallytomato.com, but you did not spell it correctly. Wait for information on that coming up. It's www.sallytomato.com. Okay, if you just Google Sally Tomato, it will come up. Peggy, again, this notebook is not an In the Hoop project. This is a sewing pattern, so everyone can do this. If you buy the kit, like I said, you get this pre-cut piece. If you wanted to do this on your own, I have the SVG file for this piece on my website. And, we'll get into all of that in February when I'm going to be doing this demo. It is a sewing project. I have In the Hoop notebook covers already on my website. Yeah, you can buy the kits. They've been on Sally Tomato. I worked with her on this. This was last year that this came out, but it is so it's so easy to do. It's a great gift, and using her faux leather, it just makes it really special. So that will be in February. Hi, Salima. Nice to see you here. And so Salima is here from AAA Sewing well, no, it's not next week, but February 6th, I'm doing a one-day virtual event with AAA Sewing. We're going to complete 3 projects. If Salima you can put the link up to our event because there are still some seats left in it. If you can, I will get all the links up for people. Hi, Joanne. Thanks for stopping by. I am feeling a little bit better here, so I'll be contacting you about doing our interview. If the kits are out of stock for this notebook, they will be getting them back in stock. So don't worry about that. But I will talk about the notebook cover a little bit later on. So it looks like the sun has shifted in here because I got this big glow on my head I can see right now. So it's time for me to go. I hope that you enjoyed this demo. And again, if you have ideas for other demos, go ahead, shoot me an email with your ideas. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining me here. And see you later. Bye.